So Bill Ayers went into education. Let me show you the results of this now. This is the, we could play that clip, but we didn't cue that thing up. I'll just read you a couple of quotes for you. You can actually look at this. And I've got to tell you that if you have children in school, you need to watch this. This is a guy, 14 years old. He says, I became aware of white privilege this year. We have a class called Race, Class, and Gender that everyone has to take. Why does everyone have to take that? Well, that's due to the influence of people like Bill Ayers and Barack Obama, who worked together in education back in Chicago. They have pushed this on people, selling this kind of mental illness, using it to divide and conquer us, okay? He says, say in the article that it's been seen, no, I'm sorry, it doesn't have an account here, but it's a 4-minute rant. And he apologizes to minorities and he makes all kinds of generalizations and assumptions that they are oppressed and that they are born incapable at birth. And he says, here's some of his first world problems, okay, that he's apologizing for. He says, I love it because I can worry about what kind of food is on my plate instead of whether or not there is food on my plate. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for all of that. But look, people are not starving because they're black in America, okay? Let's understand that. And he goes on to say, I don't care if you think feminists are taking over the world. The Black Lives Matter movement has gotten a little too strong because that is BS, he says. And he concludes the poem by telling his fellow white boys they should act like women. Maybe they can dress up and put on makeup as well, okay? This is the insanity that is being sold to us to destroy us morally and culturally, to destroy our society. This is what they're teaching your kids at school. It's not the school you went to, okay? If you got kids in school, you need to understand you do not want to abandon them to people, not foreigners, to people that are strangers, okay? We've had lawsuits in this country. I remember 10, 20 years ago, there were lawsuits. People saying, I don't like the fact that you're talking to my 7-year-old about sex in the Massachusetts school. And the father came in to talk to people about it. And he was picked up and arrested for trespassing. And he tried to get some control of it. And they said, well, we have a doctrine here. It's called in loco parentis, in place of the parents. And the court said, when you turn your children over to the school system, you are abandoning them to the state. Not my words. That's the words of the judge. You are abandoning your children to the state. If you put your kids in a government-run school, you are abandoning them to the state. I wholly agree with that judge. And you're abandoning them to a state that is using indoctrination to brainwash your children, to make them mentally ill. You are abandoning them to a state that is not going to be working in their best interest, does not love them, does not understand them as individuals, is not going to educate them, but is going to indoctrinate them. I know a lot of people who homeschooled. I homeschooled. I would never give my children to the state. I would never do it. They didn't have an option of that when I was going through school. So I went through the whole thing. I even have a wife who's got a master's degree in education and taught in the schools. And because of our experiences, we would never abandon our children to the state. And I got to say that it is going to pay dividends to you one way or the other. How you make that decision. This is the heart of what is wrong with our country, is that our people have no heart for their children. You think that you're going to become economically prosperous because you're going to have the government babysit your kids? I know a lot of people who didn't have the money to homeschool their kids. They made a lot of financial sacrifices because they put their children first, and they reaped a lot of blessed dividends from that, a close relationship. Now, look at how this is playing out in Boston, for example. Did you know that DeRay McKesson, the Black Lives Matter leader, guess where he hangs out? In the Boston School District, making a salary of $165,000 as the district's third chief of human capital. What is that? What is that? That is a make-work bureaucratic decision, but that's where these people always hang out. The Bill Ayers, the DeRay McKessons, the people who are selling the agenda of the Soros and the globalist people, okay? This is George Soros's Open Society. board members who are providing D. Ray McKesson, as he's getting a $165,000 salary. He evidently can't afford to buy his own home. He's having that home provided for him by some philanthropists in Baltimore, Maryland, who are on the board of Soros's Open Society. This is another story that's up on Infowars.com. It's the same address that he used when he declared his candidacy for his failed mayoral run earlier this year. So he's been there for a while. And then they also point out in the article the fact that Missourians organizing for reform and empowerment who were around Ferguson, and they have an acronym for that, which is called MORE, always more government, I guess. MORE was one of the groups that received a share of the $33 million invested into Black Lives Matter by George Soros. All right. Also, Democracy Alliance donated to several race-based movement organizations that ally with Black Lives Matter movement. So take a look at this story, save this as a link, and when you're talking to people on Twitter or on social media, and they say Soros isn't part of Black Lives Matter, and it's not a, it's not a what you say it is, well, just send that to them and say, no, this is not a grassroots movement. It is an AstroTurf movement run by globalist elitists who are also trying to destroy our country with open trade agreements. Now, in the little bit of time we've got left in this segment, the next segment, I want to talk a little bit about Matt Damon's upcoming movie, The Bourne Hypocrisy. That's what we should all call it. There are people who are going around, this is Lena Dunham, who has a TV show, and she is calling for people to actually cut out the handgun from the poster where you've got Matt Damon standing like a big macho guy in a suit pointing a gun right at you. And this is a guy who wants to confiscate your guns, okay? Typical. Always for them, not for us. If he wants to make millions playing with guns that he's afraid of, and he admits he's afraid, we'll talk about that when we come back. Welcome back to the InfoWars fourth hour. This is our fourth hour of the radio show. I'm David Knight. Before we get back to the Bourne Hypocrisy, I just want to let you know about a new sale we have at InfoWarsLife.com. That is, DNA Force is now 25% off. That's one of our premier supplements. It's a great discount. You can find that now, 25% off DNA Force. Look at the reviews and look at the research. There's 175 clinical studies that show how important to your health this extremely hard to secure compound BioPQQ, which is a key ingredient of DNA Force, how effective that has been in those 175 clinical studies. Do the research. Take advantage of the discount now at InfoWarsLife.com. Also, the InfoWars Select Food discount of 20 to 40% off. That has been extended as a thank you to you, as also for supporting our operation and also to prepare for unrest. We're going to have a lot of unrest. We're going to see a lot of unrest starting on Monday. Let's hope that it doesn't get too bad at the conventions. Let's hope that it doesn't spread beyond that. But it is now 20 to 40% off still at InfoWars Select Food. Alex extended that, and I don't know how much longer that's going to go. Okay, The Bourne Hypocrisy. We had Matt Damon at the premiere of his new movie, his newborn movie, saying that he wished the U.S. would adopt strict gun control measures that people like Australia have. He said, you guys did it here in one fell swoop. I wish that could happen in my country. But it's such a personal issue for people, we can't even talk about it sensibly. We just can't. He said that on July 5th, the day after we celebrate our Declaration of Independence, the day after we celebrate the creation of a government that was established on the principles of individual liberty, the day after we declared our independence and began fighting a war against an oppressive government with guns that we had a God-given right to possess, Matt. You are such an incredible hypocrite. It's disgusting. He said in a 2003 interview, he said, I actually hate guns. They freak me out. But he doesn't freak him out so much that he doesn't make freaking millions promoting it in his gun culture. And now you've got some fellow liberals like Lena Dunham calling for altering the Jason Bourne subway ads. They've actually taken pictures of people ripping out the gun out of Jason Bourne's hand that they've got. Of course, that's Matt Damon's hand in the movie. You know, he's pretending that he's a tough guy there. There's a picture of it ripped out, and they say, yeah, let's do that. Hey, New Yorkers, what if we do some peeling and get rid of the guns in the Jason Bourne subway ads? I'm so tired of guns. Well, I'm so tired of elitist liberals who think that we don't have a right to protect ourselves while they have the ability to hire their own private security forces. Speaking of private security forces, I think that truly is the solution for all of us. We have an article up on Infowars.com. Private policing is not a fantasy. And they point out in this article, let me read you a quote from this. It says, private policing isn't some fantasy. It isn't a luxury enjoyed simply by the rich. Yes, people like Matt Damon and others who want to take our guns. He said, every time you enter a shopping mall, every time you go to a department store, visit an amusement park, enjoy a live professional sporting event, or use PayPal, you are being protected by people who are trying to maximize profit. In a free market where transactions are voluntary, customers need to be pleased in order for companies to survive. People generally prefer not to be groped when they travel, not to be choked for selling cigarettes, choked and killed, by the way, or having their homes raided by SWAT teams in the middle of the night for possessing a plant. It's only government police that engage in these types of activities, because when a police agency's source of revenue is involuntary and it's divorced from the quality of services that it provides, you don't have that motto to serve and protect. Who are they protecting? What interests are they serving? They're not accountable to us. That's part of the problem. Only sheriffs are elected. The police chiefs work for a city manager or a mayor who's trying to maximize money for his jurisdiction. We need to privatize police, not federalize them. Join us tonight for the InfoWars Nightly News, 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.